I don't think we talk about that enough.
No, I don't think we do either.
Mm-hmm.
There's studies too that talk about chronic back issues from having epidural, and yet it's treated like the Cadillac of childbirth. And why wouldn't you want your epidural?
So the very thing we're running from often, the pain, is the thing we need to learn how to actually use.
That's
Right?
it exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I approach women in labor. That you have choices in labor. You can allow fear to be your driver that pushes you into more fear as you move along. Because as the process intensifies, if you're afraid when you start or even before you're in labor, it's only going to be magnified incredibly at the end of the process. So I really work with women and talk to them about, let's not choose that path. I'll let you choose it, but you'll be very dissatisfied. I want to help you go down a path that's going to give you empowerment. Kind of like what you experienced seeing your sister give birth. You got empowered. You finally realized, wow, but your birth experiences, it sounds like, because they were regulated and controlled, you didn't get to step into that level of empowerment as well.
Right.
And so that's something that's really important to me, is to empower women to give birth, empower their partners to support them. And so that's where I would love to see all birthing move in that direction. You can work to empower people even in complicated situations, but it's not really exercised that I see in the medical model.
Right. It's more, let's take away the pain, just get this done and over with.
Yeah, or even situations that deviate from normal.
Yeah.
When people do exercise their right to be decision makers, look out.
That's true.
And I get to witness that a lot.
I bet you do. I bet you do. One thing I don't know how we haven't touched on it because we're both women of faith, is where your faith comes into all of this. And do you share that with most or all of your clients? I mean, I'm sure that's where a lot of your empowerment comes from, is that?
Yeah, I think as I've continued on as practice 50 years, it's been pretty amazing. And probably I'd say in like the last 5 years that I've felt a level of boldness that I didn't used to feel. I used to think, well, I don't want to offend anybody or do anything that
Here's this illegal midwife and she doesn't want to offend anybody. No.
No, I mean, I'm thinking about even when I was licensed.
Yeah.
And, wanting to be liked by people, all of those things that I've had to wrestle with. And, now I can give you an example. I had a client not terribly long ago, last year sometime, that I could see even during her pregnancy that she was a person of wanting to have an orderly life and having all her ducks in a row. And I've learned that those mothers are setting themselves up for real big challenges in labor, because labor is something you have no control over. And so when she was in labor, she was wrestling with it. And finally I said to her, you've got to stop trying to think you can control this, because you're really being a control freak. And her eyes opened up and she goes, are you going to call me on that? And I'm like, yeah. And she started crying and thanked me.
Yeah.
So I've been stepping more into that place with my clients, and wow, the Holy Spirit has really, stuff comes out. And then they'll say, can you repeat that? And I'm like, I don't remember what I said. I mean, because it wasn't it wasn't a thought that I processed and created. It was something that I felt like God was just using me to be a voice. And so it is challenging. It's interesting with fellow believers, because birthing really challenges what faith means to them. And that's where that choice comes in. Are you willing to truly believe that God created you to do this, that when you were conceived, he put that potential inside of your little body, in that little uterus that's being created? You live your life, all of a sudden that potential comes to life, and you're going to grow a baby and give birth to a baby. And are you ready and willing to trust him to do all that process for you, and not fight back and not try and jump into the fear bandwagon? Because we know where fear comes from. It's the antithesis of faith. And So it's an opportunity for me to use pregnancy and birthing. I've learned to really spiritually give people a boost.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, was it her first baby? Because as soon as you have them,
First
then
baby.
then you really understand how much control
Right.
once they're out, that's real.
Yes. And lately, God's brought me a whole bunch of first babies, which I actually had thought back in, I think, like 2015, I was going to retire. Friends threw a surprise retirement party for me and everything. And then that didn't happen. And
The phone just kept ringing. Is that why?
well, so
why
I
did it
made the
happen?
decision then, well, I'll just take care of people who I've helped before.
Already helped
which
before.
I can be plenty busy doing that.
Yeah.
But then I started having students knocking on my door, and I realized they can't be midwives without taking care of first-time moms, because that's where all the education is. That's where all the work is to help them in their labor process, and they tend to have longer labors. So it's just a lot more work to do first babies. And I can remember after we'd gone through 2 or 3 first babies, and they're like looking at me like, oh my goodness, you're right. There's a lot of work here. Versus somebody who's had a baby before that barely gets in my front door. You know,
Right. They're like, I know what's going on.
I've
We're
had them in
fine.
the
It's
driveway,
okay."
in the car, on my front deck, you know, pretty much in every location in my house, in my backyard. Had 3 of them in my backyard this summer because the
Gosh.
weather was
So you retired 11 years ago, and now
never
you've had
really
3 babies in
officially.
your
I was
backyard.
just talking about it.
Somebody tried to throw you a party.
Yeah.
Obviously, you weren't done yet. And so you still haven't. I think one of the things I read is like you haven't left a certain mile radius of our area in all of this time because you won't vacation far. I don't know.
Yeah, I
who
mean
knows?
that was quoted a little incorrectly.
Okay.
So God's just always faithful, pretty much every year, to give me a gap. So like this year, I have a couple of June births, but then I don't have anybody until August. So I'm going to fill that with a surgery, but it's okay. I mean, so
Usually
I
when you
did-
go do something or spend time for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, my husband and I, we'll get like a weekend out of town periodically, but it's never anything that we can pre-plan because they usually pop up when I have somebody who has a baby early, and so then I'm like, oh, I have 3 weeks off right now, and I have to have 3 weeks before somebody's due date because I'm licensed to attend births from 37 weeks gestation to 42
So
weeks.
you have to be ready if it's time.
So I have to be on call that 5-week window. I can't go anywhere.
But you have a life too. You know what? I did not see, or do you have children of your own?
I do. I have 3.
How many do you have? Okay, grandchildren?
No grandchildren.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, I have a son who's going to be 52 this year. And then my next child would be 50 this year.
Okay.
She unfortunately passed away 6 years ago this week, actually.
sorry.
Yeah. And I gave birth to her at home and my son in the hospital. My youngest child was the fruit of a lovely woman who came to me looking for someone to parent her child. And so we adopted her, and she's been just an amazing gift. And so I've kind of had a variety of birthing experiences, a hospital birth, a home birth, and actually we were planning a home birth with my youngest that we adopted, but her birth mother's water broke and she didn't go into spontaneous labor.
Oh, okay.
Even though it was her 4th baby. And I feel that she had such a depth of love for my daughter that her heart couldn't let go.
Let go.
Yeah.
Your body wasn't going to do it.
So she went in the hospital and was induced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, induction's not fun.
No.
No. That's